Ancient Egypt Canal. Presenting to you the life of the ancient Egyptian. The most important kings of the pharaohs. The most famous temples. The most famous military battles. With us you will live the life of an ancient Egyptian. Which astonished the entire world and stood bewildered before explaining the mystery of this greatness that extended over centuries of time. It did not fade away like other modern civilizations that were unable to withstand the changes that occurred. The world goes through it. Egyptian civilization still holds many secrets, and every day we hear about discoveries new about this world full of secrets. If you want to dive with us into the depths of history, we offer you Egyptian history from the Paleolithic era until the end of the Pharaonic era. We will present characters, battles, and events about the life of the ancient Egyptian. Support us by liking the channel, participating, and writing to us in the comments about your opinions so that we can develop ourselves. We will take a quick tour of ancient Egyptian history, reviewing Egyptian dynasties. We begin our first tour of the Old Country. Ancient man in the Stone Age. In the Stone Age, ancient humans were nomads and made homes in caves. At the end of the Paleolithic Age, they were. Man in this era is mobile and does not settle in one place, relying for his food on hunting and collecting plants and fruits before the discovery of fire. He used some tools for cutting and scraping, some of which were made of flint stone. These are simple stone tools that the first man used to cut meat and hides, and with them to uproot what he collected from plant roots, and after discovering fire, he began using it to cook and grill meat. He also used tools made of bone, wood, and leather. Paleolithic life. Life in Egypt began about 150,000 years ago, while the dynastic era of codification came about more than 3000 BC. The excavations that were discovered in those areas, such as the Dakhla and Karga oases and the Farafra oasis, have found many stone tools that humans used in that period, including hand axes, cleavers, and scrapers for hunting animals and collecting plants, in addition to animal remains that indicated the types of animals that humans used to hunt giraffes and gazelles from the wild. Man remained in this state until the rain decreased, drought prevailed, plants disappeared, and the plateaus turned into a barren desert, which forced man to migrate from the plateaus and descend to the Nile Valley in search of water and food. The Egyptian historian Manetho is the father of Pharaonic history, not the Greek historian Herodotus, as Manetho is considered the most important history writer known to mankind, and the Egyptians do not know him, despite his great value and his role in recording ancient Egyptian history, indicating that all Egyptologists in the world still rely on him until now. On the historical division of Manetho, despite the passage of 22 centuries since his author Egyptiaca, Manetho is credited with dividing the pharaoh rulers into families, as the term family is one of Manetho's inventions. He also divided ancient Egyptian history into 30 royal families that sat on the throne of Egypt starting in the 32nd century BC. AD until the entry of the Ptolemies into Egypt in the 4th century BC. Antique era. The Kingdom of the North was located in northern Egypt in the Delta, and its capital was the city of Buto in Kafr el-Sheikh Governorate, which is near the city of Dusuk today. Its emblem was the papyrus plant, and its king's crown bore the color red. The people of this kingdom revere the cobra snake. The Kingdom of the South, its location is Upper Egypt, its capital is the city of Nokba in Aswan, which is currently near the city of El Kab, and its emblem is the lotus flower and its king's crown is white. The people of this kingdom sanctified the female eagle. The wars between the two kingdoms continued until the second unification, carried out by the king. King Mena. King Menes, the ruler of the Kingdom of the South, was able to unify Upper Egypt with the tribal side around the year 3200 BC. He created a strong central government for all of Egypt, and he became the first ruler to hold several titles, such as King of the Two Lands, Owner of the Two Crowns, Eagle of the South, Serpent of the North, and he was all of that. In praise of the deeds done by this great hero. Thus, King Menes became the founder of the first ruling dynasty in the history of Pharaonic Egypt, and indeed in the history of the entire world, and he wore the double crown of the kingdoms of the North and South. King Menes realized the necessity of building a city in a medium location, from which he could supervise the coastal and marine sides, so he founded a new city on the western shore of the Nile in the place of the current village of Mit Rahina, in Giza Governorate. It was initially a military fortress surrounded by a white wall, and its owner wanted it fortifies and protects the kingdom from the raids of the owners of the north, and Menes had called it Nefer, meaning the beautiful port, and later it was called Memphis, in the time of Greece. Then the Arabs called it Memphis, and the city of Memphis became the capital of all of Egypt during the era of the Old Kingdom until the end of the dynasty. 6. The most important monuments in Memphis. There are many landmarks and monuments in the city dating back to ancient times, the most important of which are the following: the Pyramid of Djoser, known as the Saqqara Pyramid. The step pyramid built by Imhotep and rebuilt by King Djoser during the Third Dynasty period more than 2,700 meters ago. The open-air museum is located in the village of Mit Rahina. The huge statue of Ramses II, and another similar statue on the ground. The statue of Ramses II located at the entrance to the open-air museum. A statue in the form of a sphinx, made of alabaster, in addition to various other antiquities. Palermo stone. The ancient Egyptian was keen to record his history, and the history of his country, which goes deep into time, ever since he was guided to writing and became aware of the value of recording and writing down. Excavations have revealed many antiquities, which archaeological studies have covered with great interest and research, and have helped in uncovering much of Egypt's ancient history. It has opened for us doors that were closed regarding unknown historical periods in it, which we could only reach through what was written down and recorded. And its depiction of historical events written on papyrus sheets, or engraved and photographed on the walls of temples and tombs, or engraved on stone or wooden memorial plaques. The stone's historical and archaeological importance lies in the fact that it represents a historical document of special importance in the history of ancient Egypt. It includes a chronological calendar of the kings of ancient Egypt after the unification of Lower and Upper Egypt, starting with King Narmer, and a list of the kings of Egypt from the era of the First Dynasty until the middle of the Fifth Dynasty, among them King Sneferu, King Khufu, King Jadapher, and the last king whose name was mentioned was King Neferurker, which is likely to have been written during his reign. The stone also records important events in each year of their rule. Both sides of the stone, divided into different sections, and in each section there is a short inscription expressing the name of the king, his mother's name, and the height of the Nile flood during the years of the rule of the king who was ruling at that time, and also a census of the number of livestock, quantities of gold, and a census of the areas of fields, and taxes imposed, in addition to the events of each year, whether including war efforts, or the construction of temples, buildings, and sculptures, and important celebrations such as the king's coronation celebration or the feast of accession to the throne. Under each of the king's names was a depiction of the king wearing one of the crowns of the northern and southern regions. The Narmer palette is the first of the Pharaonic historical paintings, known as Narmer or Narmer as it was written on it. It was written and painted during the reign of Pharaoh Narmer, who united the two Egyptian faces, and embodied the scene of the unification of the two countries, and the victory of the Pharaonic king over his enemies. The name of King Menes was mentioned on the plaque as Nar, and written with two symbols, the fish, pronounced Nar, and chisel, pronounced Mur. This is a difference in the pronunciation of the name, as it is believed that the name has several meanings, and archaeologists have not agreed on the meaning. True to the name, beloved of the goddess Nerit, opener of the paths, slayer of the Nerit fish. As for how it was discovered, it was found by the British scientist Koppel in Hierakonpolis near Edfu, which is made of green schist stone in 1988, and is now located in the exhibition hall of the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir. At the top of the painting, on the first side, we find two faces of a woman with the ears and horns of a cow. She is the goddess Mabot, who was later named Hathor. Between the two faces we find the facade of the palace Al-Sarek and an inscription inside it with the name Narmer. In the picture below, we find the pharaoh depicted in a large size wearing the crown of Upper, South Egypt. The white man holds his weapon in his hand to attack one of his northern enemies, which distinguishes him with the northern wig. On the second side, we find at the top of the carved image the same two faces of the goddess Bat, with the Serek between them. Below it is a scene depicting the end of the war and the king walking in a victory procession heading to the temple of the holy city of Putu. Here the king is wearing the red crown, the crown of the Delta, and behind him is a sandal holder.